Hello and welcome to another episode of what should be Down the Pipeline. But unfortunately, this week had really only a handful of RPGs that were being Kickstarted that I hadn't already talked about or that interested me. There was some on there that I really had no interest in discussing because I personally didn't think that they were very creative or they didn't look very good or so on. However, there were some that I'm just going to push to next week because they last that long. I'm hoping next week there'll be a couple more projects that I can talk about and point out to everyone. But in place of the down the pipeline, I'm going to actually do a review of the game Ultimum that I talked about last week on Down the Pipeline. That I was fortunate enough to get access to a beta book, and I ran a small uh, adventure of it last night actually. So I'm just gonna give you my thoughts on that. What are the high points, what are the low points, and allow you to get a better idea if you're on the fence about whether you're going to back or not. And to start with, we'll go right in with the setting and the world. In the beta book, it paints a very intricate picture of how the world works. It explains how humanity, it left Earth and then eventually, was forced to limp back to Earth and make their last stand against the alien race, the Anunnaki. And then it kind of explains the evolution of the races from what's called the Nemesis Project, which resulted in the creation of the Crocodile, which are the crocodile human type things, the Asaborns, the bears and wolves, and the evolution of monkeys or apes to create their own subrace. And in this beta book, it does a really good job of explaining all of the races that exist. Because not only are there the animal styled races and the humans, there's the Atlansar, which are aliens, just straight up. Them and the Noxians, these two alien races that uh, showed up at Earth through various means, but they're all explained and they make sense. Um, the automatons and I believe it's the Vayassians, Vassians, something like that. Essentially, a race of pure energy, and all of them make sense. First off, why they're on Earth or near Earth. So that was really good. Just in general, it didn't feel like they, just happened to, oh, this race crashed here and this one just happened to be flying by and these ones here. All of the races have a very organic story and why they exist and why they're playable. And I really like that because too often you see in sci-fi games, it's like, and these aliens just so happen to be here, or this thing just happened to occur. And it seems very coincidental. Nothing ever feels as if it's all connected. And the creators for this game actually tried to make the world feel like connected. The reason the Noxians crash is the same reason the humans had to leave. The reason the energy race, the Vayassians, or however they're pronounced, are here is again because of the same race. So there's this pivotal player in this world being the Anunnaki and their influences, and there's a direct link between why all these races are here. It's either because of the Anunnaki or because of the humans, or through the humans, such as through the Nemesis Project. And so I really like how the races all felt very connected. Not only that, but how they developed all these cultures all made sense. For example, the Asaborn bears and wolves, they're not just, oh, they're the Nordic race. There's a reason why they're the Nordic race. It's explained in detail why they developed like that. They also explained why English is the common language everywhere. And I really like this because I felt that they went to great lengths to make sure that in the world there weren't really a lot of questions about, why was this like that, or what is this over here. Everything was very well explained, and it was very quick to pick up the system and kind of begin to work through it. So system spot on. I mean, setting spot on. I felt that it was, you know, it was really well done. The art, also as an aside, the art is fantastic through the book. The art throughout is, I don't really know the exact style, but it paints this very gritty kind of feeling about the world and everything, which fits with the setting, and kind of makes you begin to kind of see the desperation and kind of the survival complex and everything. And I really like that the art matches the mood of the setting. Moving into the meatier part of it, of the beta book, is the system, and the system is actually surprisingly simple. At first, it's very weird, because it uses the dice steps. It uses what they call dice steps, and a D2 to a D4 to a D6 to a D8 to a D10 to a D12 to 2D8. Those are all steps. And so if something is two steps lower, you look at, for example, skills are based on steps primarily. So if your vigor is 8 and your weapon is at -2 steps, so you roll a D8 for your vigor, and then 2 steps lower than that is a D4. So then you roll a D4, add them together, and that's your attack roll in this case, or your skill roll, or whatever. And at first, this was really weird, just because you got to begin to wrap your head. Once you kind of get in the idea of the steps, it all actually makes sense and clicks really easily once you finally wrap your head around it. And my players were able to pick this up really quick. I was able to teach myself this entire thing really quickly, and I really enjoyed that. Because it creates a highly volatile system where your numbers can range from 2 to whatever, 16, whatever. And I really like that, because on an opposed roll, because you hit someone's dodge roll if you're trying to do something like swing at them, they roll a dodge. So it creates this volatile target number as well as your volatile roll. So if you roll a 2 or a 3 or whatever, you may actually still hit, or you may miss if you roll a 15. And so I really enjoy that. So the skill / attack system, very simple. The initiative system is really, really interesting. It's really cool. Initiative starts off the same as you'd think for any other game. Everyone rolls and they start with the highest. However, actions have speed cost. And then when you've done your actions, the total speed cost of everything you've done subtracts from your current initiative and moves you to the next initiative, like to that tick. So if you run up and swing your sword at someone, say that's 6 ticks, that's 6 speed total between the 3 for the movement and 3 for swinging. You then move 6 spaces down, and that's when you go again. So it creates the feeling of a dynamic initiative without the really just the pain in the ass aspect of having to re-roll initiative every round and get reshuffled that way. So this, I felt, gave combat this very organic feeling. The problem was that was that it made combat kind of slower at first. I mean, for us having to learn the system as we're playing it, because I played with brand new people and I had taught myself, so mine was a haphazard teaching. That we found that really kind of slowed us down. But I personally feel that if you had a wheel, or if you had something other than the piece of paper that I had, and more experience, then combat would flow really quickly. Damage, the actual effects of combat, I actually really enjoyed. Because I felt that you had enough protection in your armor from small arm fire, from SMGs or pistols or whatever, that your body armor would actually protect you enough that your melee characters could really get up in the fight and not have to worry so much about being cut down by small arm fire. And that actually brings me to combat as a whole, actually, in a second. So the damage, I felt, was really well balanced. It didn't feel like it was grotesquely overpowered. and I didn't feel it was underpowered for what it was. But combat is actually really cool. It
Mm-hmm.
feels very gritty, like but in a good way. Like I feel like it was really dark, and like movement and cover and strategic movement was a huge part of combat. I actually really like that because too often in games you just kind of go, I move up and I shoot the guy. Well, in this game you can say I move up and shoot the guy, but you may not be in cover, and when bullets start flying, not having cover will be the death of you most likely. Which I actually really enjoyed because I felt that it made combat more interesting. And combat, typically, I hate combat. It's typically the most boring parts of games because it's the most mechanical. And this combat actually kept it interesting by the fact that you had to actually move and cover, and the battlefield had to be designed interestingly so that you could utilize cover and environmental things. And this game capitalized on that and made it a lot of fun to run combat. Unfortunately for my group, it was a little bit slow for us because we had no idea what we're doing, and I chalk up why we had such long combat almost entirely due to the fact of unfamiliarity, both on my part and on their part. But out of combat, the system actually makes use of every dice in a a standard set of seven. Standard set of seven, yeah. Say that 10 times fast. But it actually uses the D20 in combat because when you hit someone's armor or you hit them, like their health, you roll a D20 to determine if you crit, which I actually really like because, I mean, a lot of us have, grown up playing D20 games, so, that nat 20 feeling. And the fact they brought it in and kind of made it work together, I thought was great because, when you're not doing a D20 game, which I don't do a lot of D20 games anymore, my D20s do nothing because no other game really utilizes them whatsoever. So I really liked how they, worked it in. And then the percentile they actually worked into their crafting system, which I think is great because this was one of my favorite parts of the game. So character creation is really quick, by the way. Like I made 5 characters in under an hour, and the best part is the crafting because this game does not have standardized equipment whatsoever. It's like, oh, these are pistols, these are rifles, this, that, and the other, but that's it. They're not statted out. They are not anything like that. And so when you go to create your character, you actually roll on the crafting table for what you have, which I think is great because it adds a lot more fun to picking your gear. Because you go, all right, I'm going to use battle rifle. All right, well, I now have to roll to see if I'll get, is it going to be a really well made one? Am I going to do a lot of damage? Am I going to have a high rate of fire? Stuff like that. And that's also how like enchanting works. It's not really enchanting, but there's special abilities for some weapons, which is also done the same way, which I think is great because it allows you to, he's got a pistol, I've got a pistol. Well, chances are our pistols being the same are completely unrealistic. I mean, there's a very small chance that both of our guns will be the same, and I really like that because it kind of it adds the variance in the fact that it doesn't have standardized gear. It allows for different pistols to do different things, and I really like that. Um, and that's really it. I mean, so in summary, the high points were the fact that the system is really interesting. The system kind of keeps it's simple, but it does its job really well. Um, so yeah, it's simple. It does its job really well. It's easy to pick up for a lot of people. I mean, I taught my group within 10, 15 minutes the bare minimums of it, and then we kind of eased on into it. The setting is really cool because all the races are explained in a way that makes sense. The abilities for your characters are all really simple. They also all make a lot of sense. And the fact that they use the standard set of seven, all of its dice, so you have nothing left out, I think is also really great. The weak points in the beta book, I would have liked to have seen a detailed layout of how combat works. I think I ran combat wrong. I probably did. Just the beta book. I mean, it's a beta book, so it's not going to have everything that you need all the time. I really wish there had been a lot more like information on how combat works and how shields and armor and energy shields and health all play together. Because there's like three defensive skills, like blocking. So I don't know how all these work together. Uh, so and then that's really about it. That's the weak point that I found in the beta book, which I honestly feel would be corrected in like a full release. Is the fact that I felt combat was not explained as well as I would have liked. I'm more of like I liked everything like explained step by step by step, so that I get it right. And this book kind of just tells you everything, which I felt was a little bit of a weakness in the beta book. But I honestly do not think that'll exist in a full release. So ultimately, I think this game is great. I'm gonna back this game. I think it's a lot of fun. Combat's great. It's really simple. Character creation takes no time whatsoever, and I strongly encourage you to check it out. If you've got any questions, feel free to comment. I've played a little bit, so feel free to ask questions. I'll reply to you if I can, and check out the Kickstarter. I'll leave a link to that in the description of this video as well. So a huge thank you though to the guys at Paradigm Publishing for letting me take a look at the beta book and reviewing it, because I think it's great, and I strongly encourage anyone who watches this video, if they haven't already decided to buy the book, to buy the book at least, because it will be a lot of fun, and I can't wait for its release in October. So, until next time.